deep in the Gulf of Oman, U.S. Navy destroyers cut through the water at flank speed. The order has already been given. Every sanctioned Iranian vessel in international waters is now a target for interception. The blockade is active. The net is closing. At the forward operating base in Bahrain, sailors and logistics crews are already moving. Fuel trucks roll across the pier, pumping aviation fuel into waiting MH-60R Seahawk helicopters lined up on the flight deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln. Ground crews move between aircraft with equipment carts running pre-flight checks. Pilots receive updated intercept coordinates at the mission planning tables inside the carrier's Combat Intelligence Center. Screens across the room show real-time positions of Iranian-flagged tankers, cargo ships, and shadow fleet vessels scattered across the Arabian Sea, the Bay of Bengal, and the waters near Malaysia and Sri Lanka. The intercept teams are boarding their helicopters. Door gunners lock M240 machine guns into position on the cabin rails. Boarding officers check their sidearms, body armor, and restraint kits. The rotors begin turning. One by one, the Seahawks lift off the flight deck and accelerate outbound over the water. Board the guided missile destroyer USS Gravely, the crew is at general quarters. On the bridge, the commanding officer tracks the position of a sanctioned Iranian tanker operating without authorization 60 nautical miles to the northeast. The tanker has turned off its AIS transponder, but the ship cannot hide from the destroyer's SY-1 radar system. The Gravely increases speed and adjusts its intercept course. Below decks, a boarding team of U.S. Marines suited up in tactical gear waits in the well deck. They go over their entry procedures for the fourth time. Every man knows his role. Every man knows the ship they are boarding may resist. Two FC-18 Super Hornets from the Lincoln's air wing are already overhead, descending to 500 feet, conducting a visual pass over the target vessel. The tanker, the MV Hero 2, continues on course. It does not respond to radio calls on Channel 16. The Super Hornets circle at low altitude, making two passes directly across the bow. Their message is clear. There is no ambiguity in what comes next. The Seahawk helicopters arrive on scene and begin their orbit around the tanker. One helicopter moves into a hover directly over the vessel's stern. A rope drops. Four members of the boarding team fast rope down onto the deck. They spread out immediately, establishing a security perimeter at the stern access point. Two more boarders follow. The helicopter maintains its position as the team moves forward along the port side. A second Seahawk positions over the bridge superstructure and deploys two more operators onto the upper deck. Within 90 seconds, U.S. forces control the exterior of the vessel. The tanker's crew offers no resistance. The boarding team secures the bridge, takes custody of the ship's navigation officer, and notifies the Gravely that the vessel is under U.S. control. The tanker is ordered to alter course toward a designated holding anchorage off the coast of Oman. Two armed rigid-hull inflatable boats from the destroyer pull alongside to escort it in. This is the fourth Iranian-flagged vessel seized by U.S. forces this week alone. CENTCOM has now directed 31 Iran-linked vessels to reverse course or return to Iranian ports since the blockade began on April 13th. The Iranian shadow fleet, which had been moving crude oil to buyers in China and India through deceptive shipping practices, is being systematically dismantled one vessel at a time. Far to the east, near the waters off the coast of Sri Lanka, another P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft is already tracking a second target. The Poseidon cruises at 25,000 feet, its advanced sensor suite scanning the surface below. It has identified the MV Dorena, a sanctioned tanker loaded with Iranian crude, attempting to transit toward a refinery port in Southeast Asia. The P-8 crew passes coordinates to a nearby surface task group. A second intercept operation is already underway. Back in the Strait of Hormuz itself, littoral combat ships and patrol craft from the Coalition Task Force maintain constant movement through the passage. Mine countermeasure helicopters sweep the shallow coastal lanes with towed sonar arrays, mapping the bottom, identifying potential threats. Combat divers from naval special warfare units operate from rigid inflatable boats, clearing sections of the channel near the island approaches. Their work is slow and deliberate. Every cleared lane is marked and passed to commercial shipping coordinators. On the USS Abraham Lincoln's flight deck, the next rotation of FC-18s is being readied. Ordnance crews push carts loaded with HARM anti-radiation missiles and GBU-38 joint direct attack munitions across the deck. Aircraft handlers in yellow jerseys direct aircraft into position. The catapult crews connect launch bars. The jet blast deflectors rise behind each aircraft as engines spool to full power. One after another, the Super Hornets are launched off the bow, climbing away and turning toward their patrol stations over the strait. At the Naval Support Activity Bahrain, C-17 Globemaster transport aircraft have been landing through the night. Rear ramps are down pallets of supplies. Spare parts and ordnance move off the aircraft on forklifts and onto waiting flatbed trucks. A convoy of Humvees and LMTV cargo trucks moves away from the flight line toward the fuel and ammunition storage area. Sailors and support personnel in high-visibility vests direct traffic across the ramp. The tempo has not slowed since the blockade began. Inside the Combined Maritime Operations Center, officers from the U.S. Fifth Fleet and Allied navies stand over a large table showing the full picture of shipping traffic in the region. Dozens of vessel tracks are updated in real time. Oil tankers that previously sat anchored and waiting outside the strait are now receiving coordinated escort packages. Each tanker that is cleared for transit is assigned a warship escort, an air patrol overhead, and a mine-cleared lane to follow. The first convoy of the morning, 4 tankers escorted by 2 destroyers and covered by a pair of F-35Cs passed through the central strait lane without incident before dawn. Oil markets registered the movement immediately. Global trading desks confirmed the transits, and Brent crude futures pulled back from their highs. Shipping companies that had suspended operations in the strait began notifying crews to prepare for resumed transits under U.S. naval protection. At a staging base in Qatar, B-52 Stratofortress bombers sit on the flight line with engines idle. Ground crews move around each aircraft conducting weapons inspections. AGM-158 JSM cruise missiles are mounted under the wings on external pylons. Armament technicians verify each weapon station and run system checks from laptops connected to the aircraft's weapons management system. The B-52s are full scheduled for a strike mission today, but they are fully loaded and fully ready. Their presence on the ramp is part of the operation. Every Iranian commander with satellite access can see those aircraft sitting on the tarmac. That visibility is intentional. At a forward logistics element near the Omani coast, Navy supply ships are offloading onto pier barges. Pallets of Mk-54 lightweight torpedoes are crane-lifted off the deck of a combat stores ship and transferred to a waiting barge. The torpedoes will move by truck to a forward ammunition holding area and be staged for Virginia-class submarine resupply at sea. 2 attack submarines operating in the strait have been running continuous patrol cycles since the blockade began. Their presence below the surface covers the one dimension that surface ships and aircraft cannot fully monitor. At a forward air refueling point in the UAE, a KC-135 Stratotanker is already airborne and in its assigned orbit track over the Gulf. The tanker's boom operator sits at his station watching the airspace behind the aircraft. 2 F-35Cs are already in the refueling pattern. The first fighter slides into position behind the boom. Contact is made. Fuel flows. Within 4 minutes, the fighter breaks away with a full load and turns back toward its patrol station over the northern strait approach. The second F-35C moves into position immediately. The tanker does not stop cycling. It will stay airborne for another 6 hours before rotating out and being replaced by a second KC-135 already airborne from Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar. On the deck of the USS Abraham Lincoln, as the morning sun rises over the Gulf of Oman, another pair of Super Hornets traps the wire and comes to a stop on the flight deck. They have completed the overnight patrol. Before the pilots are out of their cockpits, the next pair is already taxiing forward to the catapults. Fresh aircraft, fresh ordnance, full fuel loads. Back aboard the Gravely, the escorted MV Hero 2 has reached the holding anchorage. A second destroyer pulls into position on the opposite side of the tanker. Armed sailors, in small boats, maintain a patrol perimeter around the vessel. The ship's documentation, cargo manifests, and navigation logs are being photographed and transmitted to CENTCOM for analysis. The intelligence gathered from each seized vessel feeds directly back into the targeting cycle, identifying new vessels, new routes, and new buyers connected to the Iranian crude network. The blockade holds. The intercepts continue. Every tanker attempting to move Iranian crude without authorization is being stopped. The U.S. Navy controls the entry point. The U.S. Navy controls the exit point, and until that changes, every barrel of Iranian oil that tries to reach a foreign buyer will have to pass through the same answer. Boarding teams on ropes, warships on escort, aircraft overhead. The strait is not closed, but Iran's oil lifeline is. Identifying new vessels, new routes, and new buyers connected to the Iranian crude network. The blockade holds. The intercepts continue. Every tanker attempting to move Iranian crude without authorization is being stopped. The U.S. Navy controls the entry point. The U.S. Navy controls the exit point, and until that changes, every barrel of Iranian oil that tries to reach a foreign buyer will have to pass through the same answer. Boarding teams on ropes, warships on escort, aircraft overhead. The strait is not closed, but Iran's oil lifeline is.